Hare Krishna. So the time's nearly 2:05. Is that right? We've got one participant. So, I hope we've got this right. Oh, two. Must be right. So I'm just going to sing Jai Radha Madhava for a few minutes and then we can start the class. Hare Krishna Gauraprabhu.
Hare
Sri Harinam Sankirtan Sri Jai. Just a moment, I'm just going to close the window. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay, so Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're going to read from the Bhagavad Gita. And this is a very famous verse. It's chapter 4, text number 7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada, whenever and wherever, he, certainly, dharmasya, of religion, glanhi, discrepancies, bhavati, become manifested. Bharata, O descendant of Bharat, abhyutanam, predominance of adharmasya, of your religion. Tada, at that time, atmanam, self, srijami, manifest. Aham, I. Translation. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practices, O descendant of Bharat, and a prominent rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Purport. The word Srijami is significant herein. Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation because, according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Srijami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dvapara Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu, in one day of Brahma, he has no obligation to adhere to such principles and regulations because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and discrepance and a disappearance of true religion. The principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord himself to Brahma from within his heart. Therefore, the principles of Dharma or religion are the direct order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dharmam tu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord. And the Lord directly orders at the end of the Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto him only and nothing more. Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto him. And whenever such principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna, who appeared when materialism was rampant, and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes, in the Vedas people of the manic tendency still took to animal sacrifice without reference to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared in order to stop the nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scripture. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, and whenever he desires to appear, Each and every incarnation he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under his particular circumstance. For the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant, or himself in some disguised form. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter, to the highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary people in other parts of the world. 2 + 2 = 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginning of an arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher, lower, and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. Higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and the four stages of social life, as will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifested and non-manifested only under different circumstances. Om Gyanantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityananda. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauram Bhadi Gauravan Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastacharya Sutaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Giridhar Sri Vasti Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So welcome everybody. Today is the appearance day of Ramanujs Acharya. So I've been asked to speak a little bit about Ramanujs Acharya. And this verse is explaining how Krishna's constantly what do they say? He's constantly got his fingers on the pulse. Well, you know, we all have a pulse, and by the strength of the pulse, we can understand our whether there's disease in the body, or whether the body's healthy, or whether the body's strong. This is the Ayurvedic principle. So, in the same way, they use this example to understand whether a person's in contact with the situation, whether he understands the situation, not just the body, but any situation. Has he got his finger on the pulse? So this is certainly true of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when he detects that the spiritual pulse is not thumping like it should do, then he makes suitable arrangements to keep the situation healthy, keep the pulse strong, and try to maintain it. And he does this personally. We have different celebrations in our year. Appearance of Lord Krishna, appearance of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nrsimhadev, and Lord Ramachandra, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, and so forth. But we also have celebrations for the appearance of the Lord's representatives. And here we have appearance of Ramanujs Acharya. So Ramanujs Acharya is not in our particular line, in our Sampradaya, but he's a Vaishnava, very elevated Vaishnava. And he comes in one of the four disciplic successions. Sampradaya vihini hate mantraste nismila mataha. So this verse is explaining how unless we're actually connected in a Sampradaya, then our mantra has no meaning. So don't get worried. Don't get worried. Some people think that we have to be initiated formally for that to be, but that's not the case. Some initiation is a more subtle thing. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he accepted his spiritual master on the rooftop of the temple in Ultadangas Road in Calcutta when he first met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's a little bit off the track, but I just want to emphasize this point. And because we're talking about disciplic succession, and he'd accepted him as a very nice, saintly person, and he thought at the time Lord Chaitanya's mission is in good hands, a very expert preacher. So he always remembered that point. And then years later, he'd actually moved from Calcutta with his family to Allahabad, and he'd opened a pharmacy there. And so after some years, some of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples came and they were told by people in Allahabad that Abhay Babu would help them, which he did. But he was very pleased to meet them, and it reminded him of Bhaktisiddhanta. And then he became an inactive member, and he used to try and see Bhaktisiddhanta as much as possible, which wasn't very much. He may have seen him, I don't know, but not more than a dozen times, according to the, Prabhupada Lilamrita. But he used to spend time with Bhaktisiddhanta, and eventually he was put forward for initiation. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati initiated him formally. So this is the point, is that, Krishna is watching the one, like he has a finger on the pulse. And so he has the finger on the pulse for every individual also. We shouldn't worry that we're not being taken care of. That, we're wandering through this material world, and somehow or other we take a little bit of interest in, what am I doing here? We start to become introspective. And so Brahmanda Brahmate Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prashade Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. That the Lord makes arrangements for that person at that time to get him, to connect with a spiritual master. So the spiritual master means different spiritual masters, like Guru Pradakshika, Brahma Pradakshika Guru, who first introduces one to Krishna consciousness and sets. And then, of course, when we take the process seriously, Krishna arranges for us to get plenty of direction called Shiksha. So this is ongoing. So it's not that we're not making progress, we're following the process and we're hearing regularly. And gradually we're becoming fixed more and more. And then we become serious enough to want to make our life, center our life around developing our devotion to the Lord. And then we take formal initiation. So initiation is a process which is formalized when we take initiation from the Diksha Guru. And that's a very important process also. But we're making progress all the way as soon as we start to want to hear about the goal of life, and especially when we want to hear about Krishna. Krishna's in the heart. We spoke this morning, Videshe Arjuna Tishtati. He said he's in the heart and he's directing the wanderings of all living entities. So we can't have, not on the pulse, on the heart. The pulse is a reflection of the heart. So, Krishna could detect that there was an anomaly. This was in Ramanujs Acharya appeared in 1117, in the 12th century. He appeared in South India. I've got the details. I'll just see if I can find some more details for you. And according to this, when he left this world, there's a little bit of argument. Some say 1137 and some say 1157, which would make him either 140 years old or 120 years old. And so eventually Ramanuja grew up and he started to take an interest in spiritual life. And he took initiation from one person called Yadava Prakash. So he was part of the ancient Advaita Vedanta, not monistic tradition. In other words, impersonalism. And because Ramanuja was at heart a Vaishnava, they had many disagreements on philosophical points. So, why would he take initiation from an impersonalist? That remains to be explained, I don't know that, but eventually Ramanuja could see that, you know, this relationship wasn't working, and so he disagreed with his guru on many non-dualistic points. And so he actually the line that he was initiated into was the Sri Vaishnava tradition. That's why he probably took initiation, but Yadava Prakash wasn't actually following that. He was following the impersonalist path. And this Vedanta, this Sri Vaishnava tradition was coming from the Tamil Alvars. They are famous in South India for spreading Vaishnavism. And Yamunanda Acharya was one of the chief proponents of Sri Vaishnavism and preaching the cult of devotional service or Bhakti Yoga. And eventually Ramanujacharya, because of his deep learning, eventually became a chief proponent of this sampradaya. This sampradaya, Sri Vaishnava sampradaya, preaches Vishishtadvaita. So at that time there was Shankaracharya. He was preaching Advaita philosophy, non-dualism. In other words, everybody's spirit soul, we're all one when we achieve perfection. And initially, Lord Buddha, anyway, we're not going into the details, but I think it'd be helpful that Lord Buddha appeared before Shankaracharya, and he preached Shunyavadi, make everything zero. And he took people away from the Vedas who were misusing the Vedas so they could slaughter animals. Although the Vedas give, direction that we can take an animal's life, but there's a price to pay. But they were ignoring that, and the animals were being slaughtered unnecessarily. And so Lord Buddha took them away from the Vedas and taught them ahimsa, non-violence. And a lot of the Southeast Asia, I don't know how far it stretched, they became Buddhist, and India became Buddhist. So, the Lord understood the situation, and he wanted to take people away so that they could at least stop this act of animal killing, which takes away one's ability to understand anything. Then, of course, in due course of time, he wanted to start educating them in the Vedas, because Lord Buddha took them away from the Vedas. And so Shankaracharya was sent, and he started preaching monism, because the Buddhists were Shunyavadis, nothing exists. He was saying, yes, something exists, but we're all that something, we're all the supreme. And so this became widely preached in India and neighbouring countries. And so when Ramanujacharya appeared, he appeared for a particular purpose although Vaishnavism was being preached by Yamunacharya, the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya was in operation, Shankaracharya's philosophy of monism had actually become prominent. And so Ramanuja, he started to preach very, very strongly in favour of Vishishtadvaita, which means that it's monism, but it's also dualism. It's similar to our philosophy, which is Veda Tattva, which we can speak about later. Vishishtadvaita means that it's qualified monism. It means that it's not quite all monism, but there are two energies. I'll just read a little bit because it's explained here. Ramanuja presented the epistemic, and this is very soteriological importance of bhakti, or the devotion of a personal God. In this case, he taught Dasyaras, which means worship of Lord Vishnu, as a means to spiritual liberation. His theories asserted that there exists a plurality, and there is a distinction between Atma, which is the soul, and Brahman, which is the supreme soul, metaphysical ultimate reality, it says here, either personal or impersonal. We talk personal. Brahman is personal. And he also affirmed that there is a unity of all souls, and that the individual soul has the potential to realize the identity with the Brahman. So he established that everything is spiritual, but there is a distinction between the supreme Brahman and the individual Brahman, or the individual Atma or soul. So it gradual. Krishna is very intelligent. So Ramanujs Acharya was preaching that. Let's see if it says any more on the philosophy. See, the next one was Madhavacharya. And Madhavacharya taught Shuddhadvaita, which means pure dualism. He didn't mess about. He taught, he put two fingers up. There's definitely two. There's this Supreme Lord and there's us. This monistic philosophy is not to be followed. And then later, anyway, we'll go into that in a while. So the story of, so we know the difference, the specific succession is, and then of course, there's a Rudra Sampradaya, which I think is the oldest, and I forget what they call that, I've just got it written down here. Yes. And then came Kumara Sampradaya, Nimbaka. He spoke about Dvaita. That means that there's both dualism. You know, Madhavacharya established dualism, but then the Kumara Sampradaya through Nimbaka established there's both dualism and monism. Distinct, not like Vasishtadvaita, where it's like a little bit grey. We distinctly established the two, that they're both the same. One is a different level of understanding of the absolute truth, that's all. Impersonal understanding, Brahman. It's true, but it's not the ultimate. And then there's actually the ultimate is Bhagavan. So this is a stage further. And then, of course, came our philosophy, which is called Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. So Achintya means it's inconceivable to the conditioned soul. Achintya Veda 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 Abheda Tattva. Simultaneously, the truth is one and different. You know, the Supreme Lord is, we're all actually the Supreme Lord's energy, but the Supreme Lord is different from that energy. So we are actually an energy of Krishna. We're non-different from Krishna, but Krishna's a person who's different. And this actually established the ultimate understanding of this Vaishnava philosophy. And this is the philosophy that Lord Chaitanya actually gave to us all. So these are the four Sampradayas. And in our Sampradaya, we call the Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we talk about Madhavacharya, but then when Lord Chaitanya, in that line from Madhavacharya, from Lord Moore to Madhavacharya, and then to Narada, then to Madhavacharya. And then in that line came Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri, he actually expanded on this. Madhavacharya taught Shuddha Advaita, pure dualism, and then it changed to Achintya Veda Veda Tattva when Madhavendra Puri appeared, because he taught about the highest ras, about the conjugal. They were all teaching different rasas. He taught conjugal love. So we started with Ramanujs Acharya with Dasya Ras, and now we're finishing Madhava Sampradaya with conjugal love. And so Lord Chaitanya, so from that time on, the teaching was upgraded, you can say. And then eventually our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, appeared. And because of the difficulty in the Gaudiya Math, by splitting, he preached separately. And he started the ISKCON movement, which is like a branch of the Madhavacharya. So therefore he's known as the founder Acharya of ISKCON. Just like, Ramanuja Acharya is the founder Acharya in this modern age of the philosophy of and the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. Nimbaka is the founder and Acharya of the Kumara Sampradaya. Vishnu Swami is the founder Acharya in this modern age for preaching in this modern times of the Rudra Sampradaya. Like that. So in this age it is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who is the founder, who is the teacher. But in order to safeguard ISKCON and stop it from being monopolized by other parts of the Madhava Sampradaya, he created a separate group, not a separate Sampradaya, separate part of the Madhava Sampradaya, Madhava Sampradaya, which is called ISKCON. And he's called himself, this is why he insisted, I'm the founder Acharya, so that none of his god brothers could, after he left, take his position. So which is a little bit about Sampradayas. There's always problems. And Ramanuja Acharya, in the beginning of his devotional life, immediately found a problem. His spiritual master was a monist, an impersonalist. So we can say a little bit more about Ramanuja Acharya now. Yeah, his early life. He spoke about how he took shelter of Yadava Prakash. And when he started preaching and being successful, Yamunacharya was preaching Sri Vaishnavism in South India, started to recognize him, and he kept tabs, he kept his finger on the pulse of how Ramanuja Acharya was preaching. And he was based at Ranganath Swami Temple in Sri Rangam. He was a Vaishnava Acharya there. So, he was followed from a very young age by Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya had work for him to do. So, at one point when he realized that he hadn't got long to live, he summoned one of his senior disciples, Sri Mahapurna, and he asked him to go to Kanchipuram, where Ramanuja Acharya was staying, and bring him to, Sri Rangam. He wanted him to be the next Acharya. So when Mahapurna met Ramanuja Acharya, they were both ecstatic, and they both went back to Sri Rangam. But By the time they got there, Acharya had actually passed away from this world. And so obviously, Ramanujs Acharya was heartbroken. Excuse me putting my top up, it's a little bit chilly around my head. So, he was heartbroken, and he didn't stay in Sri Rangam. He left for Kanchi, went back, and refused to worship Ranganath. But he held him responsible for taking away Ramanujs Acharya from this world. That's how the story goes. And so things carried on for some time under the able disciple of Ramanujs Acharya, Mahapurna. But, they were missing some powerful Acharya like Ramanujs Acharya. And so it was decided between the leaders that they would go back to Kanchi and fetch Ramanujs Acharya back to Sri Rangam, ask him to come back and lead the Sampradaya. So in the meantime, Ramanujs Acharya, he met with one devotee in Kanchi called Kanchipurna. And he decided that he would like to become Kanchipurna's disciple. But when he approached Kanchipurna, Kanchipurna politely refused and said that it would be better to actually find a more appropriate guru because they were in different castes. So in South India, they're pretty caste conscious, even at that time. That was the external reason anyway. And so Kanchipurna then left and he went to Tirupati to worship Lord Venkateshwar. And he was away for 6 months and finally he came back. And but at that time he was told by the deity in Kanchi, Lord Varaharaj, he wished that he was advised to send Ramanujs Acharya back to Sri Rangam. And so when Kanchipurna came back and told Ramanujs Acharya about this dream about Lord Varaharaj, that he should leave Sri Rangam. So, 2 things have happened here. Ramanujs Acharya has been advised by his potential guru, due to a prayer, due to a dream from the Supreme Lord, that he should go to Sri Rangam. And in Sri Rangam, the devotees there, they're all saying that we should go and fetch Ramanuja. So simultaneously, they both set off. Mahapurna set off with his wife, and after a short distance, on his way to Kanchi, Mahapurna and his wife decided to stay at one place called Madhuratakam. It's about 40 miles away from Chennai. That used to be called Madras. And so they both met at the same place. At that same time, Ramanuja came and they both went back to, they didn't waste any time, they both went to Sri Rangam. And at that time, Ramanuja asked Mahapurna to become his spiritual master. And Mahapurna obliged, he gave him initiation. This is called Pancha Askaras, the 5 sacraments. Anyway, this is not something important. It's a technicality. So then, in that particular kingdom of Sri Rangam, there's one king called the Kulotunga Chola. And Kulatunga Chola had immense hatred towards Vaishnavism. I think he supported the Shaivites. And Kulatunga Chola too, that's the title. And the king was called Krimikanta Chola, or Worm-Necked Chola. He was called this because he said to suffer from cancer of the throat at some point. But because he was actually a Shaivite and he hated the Vaishnavas, he was actually planning some nonsense against Ramanuja Acharya. And so one of Ramanuja Acharya's friends, one of his disciples, actually could understand what was happening. And so he advised Ramanuja Acharya to leave the Chola kingdom. And then he moved to Hoysala, a place in South India, and he stayed there for 14 years. And there he met another king, who was king. This was a Jain king. The Jains, we go to the Jain Samaj, don't we, to have our big programs. So they try to avoid killing any type of life. They sometimes wear these masks. So they originate from South India, and they originally come from, what's that? What's that mendicant in the Bhagavatam? I can't remember his name. Rishvadev. Rishvadev. They come from that line. And so this king, he was actually a Jain, and by following Ramanuja's advice, and his daughter was miraculously healed of a disease, he became a Vaishnava and changed his name to Vishnu Varadana. And King Vishnu Varadana assisted, Ramanuja Acharya to build a temple in that part of the world at Melukoti, which is presently a temple named Mandya in Karnataka. That was for some time. But when the king of the Chola kingdom, Krimikanta, died, then Ramanuja Acharya went back to that kingdom. And his son, Adya Rajendra Chola, was killed in a social uprising with the Vaishnavas. Actually, sorry, I've got it wrong. This just shows how Krishna protects his devotees. This Krimikanta, worm-necked, this evil king, he was killed in a local uprising of the Vaishnavas. I didn't know Vaishnavas had uprising. Well, obviously they'd had enough, and they killed the king. So we should be careful that we don't follow that line anyway. Okay, so King Kolatunga was a son of Krimikanta, but he was actually a repentant son. He hated what his father had done. And so he helped him in his preaching work. So actually Ramanuja revolted against the caste system. The caste system at that time was that according to birth, one would actually be as we know, it's not according to birth, it's according to qualities. So he helped to chase that system out of South India and establish the Bhakti movement. he was known as having liberal views. He wasn't a fanatic, or he was seen like that by these fanatics of the caste system. And so, according to one's particular qualification, one could become Brahmin, or one could become Vaishnava. Before one had to work his way up through the caste, become a Brahmin and then a Vaishnava, which is completely bogus. Yes, so there were some attempts on Ramanuja's life, besides the one attempted by the Kola king. When he was a student of Yadava Prakash's impersonal guru, he actually grew jealous of Ramanujacharya's rise to fame. And he planned to get rid of Ramanuja. But Ramanuja's cousin, saved him from that, and he escaped to Kanchi again. It said later that Yadava Prakash, he actually realized his folly and became a disciple of Ramanujacharya. And another attempt on his life was in Sri Rangam. The head priest of the Ramanujs Swami temple, the Sri Rangam, he didn't like Ramanujacharya either. So, when we become a little bit famous in this world, this is what, whether material or spiritual, especially material, then we get enemies. As soon as we get any opulences, we'll make enemies. Even in Vaishnava circles, that can happen sometimes due to envy. It shouldn't, but so Ramanujacharya, he decided to kill him. And so he invited Ramanujacharya. This is the head priest of the temple. If the head priest like that, what are the others like? But this shows how deep, this envy goes into the heart. And this is why, Lord Chaitanya told us to clean the heart completely. One little bit of, can actually be ignited by a particular situation. We can meticulously work on our purification. So this head priest invited Ramanujacharya to his house, and his wife cooked, and they poisoned the prasadam. But when Ramanujacharya arrived at the house, he was so effulgent that his wife understood that this is not an ordinary person, and she revealed what they were attempting to do, or what her husband attempted to do. Actually, the husband was determined. And so then when Ramanuja visited the temple, he poisoned the Charinamrita. So be careful when you go to the manor. He poisoned the Charitamrita. And so he served Ramanuja some Charitamrita. And he took it and he started dancing in ecstasy. He should have collapsed to the floor. And the priest at once stood back, he couldn't understand. And then he realized, wait a minute, this is not an ordinary person. And so he fell at the feet of Ramanujacharya and asked for his blessings. There's we're linking this with Vaishnavism. There's one story, a nice story we can finish with about Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya was once visiting Jagannath Puri. And while he was in Jagannath Puri, he was offering prayers to Lord Jagannath. And Lord Jagannath became very pleased with him. And he appeared in person before Ramanujacharya. And he said, Ramanujacharya, you should go to Navadweep. And he said, very soon I will appear there in the house of Jagannath Mishra. And he said that, Navadvip Dham is my most favourite abode, beloved abode. And let your students stay in Jagannath Puri, but you'll go alone. And so Ramanujs Acharya went to Jagannath Puri, and when he was in Jagannath Puri, he got the darshan of Lord Gauranga. Remember, this is hundreds of years before Lord Chaitanya appeared. And Lord Chaitanya blessed him that he put his feet on his head. And at that time, Ramanujs Acharya was ecstatic, and he said, when he understood the philosophy and understood this was Krishna and appearing in his golden form, he said, please let me preach this message of Achincha Veda Veda Tattva, of conjugal love to the world. And Lord Gauranga told him that it's not time yet. You go back and preach the philosophy of Vishtadvaita in servitude to Lord Vishnu. Go back with your disciples. And internally you should worship me as Lord Gauranga, but externally you should carry on with the teachings that you've presently been presenting. So, the Lord had his plan. Even though Ramanujs Acharya probably was well equipped and capable of preaching, Lord Gauranga wanted to, he'd set out his plan and he wanted to stick to that plan. So the Lord has a plan for spreading Krishna consciousness, and we can become part of that plan. He's a plan for every one of us if we want that. So all we have to do is just, surrender to the process, and we'll see how Krishna's plan unfolds. And when we see Krishna's plan unfolding, then we'll get deep faith, and our attachment to the Lord will increase. And as we become more attracted to the dealings of the Lord, our attachment to the material energy will start to decrease. Anyway, so Lord Gauranga said, Vrindavan is the place of Lord Krishna. I'm that same Lord Krishna, but I've appeared in the holy land of Navadvip. Navadvip is also Svetadvip. It's actually non-different from Vrindavan. It's a supreme spiritual abode. And, within this abode, all the other abodes in South India that you've been worshipping, like Sri Rangam and Kanchipuram and Ranga, etc., they all contained in one corner of Navadvip. This is how powerful this holy Dharma is. And Lord Gauranga told him it's not just by studying the scriptures that you can obtain my mercy. And so this is where we're all very fortunate that what do we understand about scripture? But somehow we've got Lord Chaitanya's mercy, just like Ramanujs Acharya got that mercy. And we've been given the mercy which Ramanujs Acharya didn't get. Look how fortunate we are. We can go out in the middle of the street. Well, we can't at the moment. Things are a bit iffy. There's this coronavirus knocking about, so better we preach on the internet at the moment. But we've got so much benediction. We can go out when we want, where we want, and tell people about Lord Gauranga. Chant the holy name, tell them about Krishna, distribute his books. This is something which even Ramanujs Acharya didn't have the opportunity to do. And so when just to keep me in your heart, go back with your disciples to South India and carry on preaching. When Lord Jagannath ordered, Ramanujs Acharya cultivated, his attraction for the Lord Gauranga, and he felt himself so fortunate to have met the Lord. So that's when Lord Chaitanya put his feet on Ramanuj's head. And Ramanuja said, I want to see your pastimes when you appear in this world. Please give me that benediction. And so Lord Rama says that your wish will be fulfilled, O son of Keshava. And when my Navadvip is revealed, you will again take your birth there. So when Lord Chaitanya appeared, Lord Rama appeared in Navadvip, as he promised, Ramanuja returned to, so at that time Ramanuja returned to Kuramistan and joined the disciples and carried on preaching in the mood of servitorship. And then in hundreds of years later, Lord Chaitanya appeared in Navadvip, and Ramanujacharya appeared as a devotee called Ananta Vipra. And he appeared well before Ramanuja, before Lord Gauranga, and he was quite old at that time. And he used to live in a cottage which in Navadvip, and he could witness Lord Chaitanya's pastimes there. So everything's connected. Ramanujacharya is just preaching on behalf of the Lord in a different time and a different circumstance. So we can learn from Ramanujacharya too. We have a particular nature, and the Lord wants us to use our particular nature to preach in this particular circumstance. He particularly wanted Ramanujacharya to preach in South India to the people of that particular area in a particular way which was suitable to that time and place. And then he wanted, he personally appeared and wanted his followers to preach, and wanted his, the Panchatattva to preach in Bengal in a particular way with Sanatan movement. And then he wanted his the 6 Goswamis to write books for the benefit of the oncoming age. People would not be so intelligent. The preaching would have to be spread to every part of the world. So he told them to find the essence of the Shastras, which could be suitably understood, but not necessarily completely understood, but understood by their descendants. And then their descendants, including Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Prabhupada, didn't change those teachings, but presented them in a suitable way. So we have to use our intelligence to. Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj's disciples, his godbrothers, my godbrothers are not very intelligent. They're still distributing the books of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Now that seems like an insult. Although we'll always distribute Prabhupada's books, still we should know that, things will be changing, and we should be able to present Prabhupada's books in a suitable way. Prabhupada's books are law books. But we know ourselves when we meet people, we cannot quote just straight out of Prabhupada's books. We have to quote in a suitable way for their understanding so they can take it. Otherwise they'll reject it. And so as a temple, as an individual, we have to see what's needed to spread Krishna consciousness. That's not what we think necessarily we're used to spreading, but what we think will work. And that's not easy. This is also a form of surrender. Surrendering to the thing which will work, to the process that will actually be most efficacious for curing the material disease of the people of this particular time, place and circumstance. And so this, coming back to this situation we're in now, this situation will be a perfect thing for awakening people up. And people realise that, things are not so safe. A lot of people will be broken by this, not just, taking lives, but, people's businesses will be in jeopardy. Their whole structure for which their whole shelter is being undermined by this little microbe, this little bacteria. the leaders of big countries, if the microbe takes hold, it could destroy the whole nation. I'm not saying it will and it won't, but they're realizing, but they're on a very flickering platform. So that'll mean it'll be easier for us to actually put our message forward. So I'd like to stop there. So Ramanujs Acharya Prabhu Maharaj Ki Jai. Yantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. I don't very much to ask any questions on the chat live chat, so I'll just wait a few minutes in case you do. And if there's any other things you would like to ask at the same time. So Nataraj says Hare Krishna. So anybody else? Anyway, it's 2:15, so we've gone over the mark a little bit. So we'll stop there. And I hope to see you again sometime. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada Ki Jai.